Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Bol, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Jaya Radha Madhav, Radha Madhav, Radhe. Jaya Radha Madhav, Radha Madhav, Radhe. Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Gaura Pimanandi. Jayam Vishupad Paramahamsa Pri Prajgasarja Stotra Satya Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Siraboy Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Skandi Biti Founder Charya's Divine Grace Sri Prabhupada Ki Namasarya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Samavata Bhakta Vrinda Ki Hari Nam Sankirtan Ki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jainitai Gaura Pimanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada Ki. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Taksuranmiritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Jita Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavam Scha Sri Rupam Sagradatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanditam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kancana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansakalpa Tayubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Vyayevasya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Shaiva Narotamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer our respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Nara, Narayana Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama-shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and the loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahmasamitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Svastayanam Mahat. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God as Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Surabhyay Namaha. Om Surabhyay Namaha. Om Surabhyay Namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam pagum lagayate girim. Yat kripat maham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Yat kripat maham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our Bhagavatam class. We continue, canto number 1, chapter 8, prayers by Queen Kunti. And today, text number 24. Vishan Mahagnehi Purushad Darshanad Asat Sabhaya Vana Vasa Krishrataha Mride Aneka Maharatastrato Drauni Astratash Hare Virakshitaha Vishan Mahagne Purushada Darshanad Asat Sabhaya Vanavasa Krishrataha Mride Nika Maharatastrato Draunyastratas Jasma Hare Virakshitaha Vishan Mahagne Purushada Darshanad Asat Sabhaya Vanavasa Krishrataha Mride Nika Maharatasrato Dronyastratashchasma hare virakshitaha. Vishanmahagne purushadadarsanad. Asatsabhaya vanavasa krishrataha. Mride mride nekamahatratasrato. Dronyastratashchasma hare virakshitaha. Vishanmahagne purushadadarsanad. Asatsabhaya vanavasa krishrataha. Mride mride nekamahatratasrato. Dronyasratashchasma hare virakshitaha. Vishanmahagne purushadadarsanad. Asatsabhaya vanavasa krishrataha. Mride mride nekamahatratasrato. Dronyastratashchasma hare virakshitaha. Vishat, from a poison. Maha Agnehi, from the great fire. Purusha Ada, Purusha Ada, the man-eaters. Darshanat, by combating. Asat, vicious. Sabhaya, assembly. Vanavasa, exiled to the forest. Krishrataha, sufferings. Mride mride, again and again in battle. Aneka, many. Maharata, Maharata, great generals. Astrataha, weapons. Droni, the son of Dronacharya. Asrataha, from the weapon of. Cha, and. Asma, indicating past tense. Hare, O my Lord. Abhirakshitaha, protected completely. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. My dear Krishna, your Lordship has protected us from a poison cake, from a great fire, from cannibals, from the vicious assembly, from sufferings during our exile in the forest, and from the battle where great generals fought. And now you have saved us from the weapon of Ashvatthama. Kindly repeat after me. My dear Krishna, your Lordship has protected us from a poisoned cake, from a great fire, from cannibals, from the vicious assembly, from suffering during our exile in the forest, and from the battle where great generals fought. And now you have saved us from the weapon of Ashwatthama. Purport. The list of dangerous encounters is submitted herein. Devaki was once into difficulty by her envious brother. Otherwise, she was well. But Kunti Devi and her sons were put into one difficulty after another for years and years together. They were put into trouble by Duryodhana and his party due to the kingdom, and each and every time the sons of Kunti were saved by the Lord. Once Bhima was administered poison in a cake. Once they were put into the house made of shalak and set afire. And once Draupadi was dragged out, and attempts were made to insult her by stripping her naked in the vicious assembly of the Kurus. The Lord saved Draupadi by supplying an immeasurable length of cloth, and Duryodhana's party failed to see her naked. Similarly, when they were exiled in the forest, Bhima had to fight with the man-eater demon, Hidimba Rakshasa, but the Lord saved him. So it was not finished there. After all these tribulations, there was a great battle of Kurukshetra, and Arjuna had to meet such great generals as Drona, Bhishma, and Karna, all powerful fighters. And at last, even when everything was done away with, there was the Brahmastra released by the son of Dronacharya to kill the child within the womb of Uttara. And so the Lord saved the only surviving descendant of the Kurus, Maharaj Parikshit. Translation again, my dear Krishna. Your Lordship has protected us from a poisoned cake, from a great fire, from cannibals, from the vicious assembly, from sufferings during our exile in the forest, and from the battle where great generals fought. And now you have saved us from the weapon of Ashwatthama. So these are all related in the Mahabharata in detail. All of the different very difficult situations that Queen Kunti and her 5 sons were put into. Prabhupada is elaborating on a few of them here in the purport. But in every instance, they were protected by the Lord. Whereas, as Prabhupada mentions, Devaki, she was put into difficulty, but not as much as Queen Kunti Devi and her children. So we already discussed why the Lord puts His dear devotees, because the Pandavas and Queen Kunti, they were all very surrendered souls. So it's not that when we become a devotee, there won't be any problems or any challenges. Soon after taking sannyas, actually, Srila Prabhupada was sharing or explaining one time. This was when he would go to Delhi. Prabhupada was in Vrindavan. He was in transition, having left householder life. And this is one of many major decisions that one has to make in life, which nowadays people don't make, because most people don't really know about it. Means taking leave of family, because family is described as the strongest attachment. Family, relations, family activities, and of course the central and focus point in family life is sex life. That is what is binding family together. So, of course, Srila Prabhupada had from early childhood, because of his upbringing, because of having taken birth in a Vaishnava family, and also because of having met a bona fide spiritual master. Actually, in one purport, Prabhupada mentions that there are two things which are extremely beneficial and which can help an individual actually be successful in life. One is to be born in the family of devotees, as Prabhupada was, and as his spiritual master was as well. And the other is to actually be fortunate to meet a bona fide guru and to be receiving transcendental knowledge. So for Srila Prabhupada, when one is having these two, which Prabhupada had, favorable conditions, then it's much easier to actually leave family life, isn't it? And therefore, Prabhupada went to Vrindavan. He relates how Krishna was very kind to him, and that he took everything away from him because Prabhupada's mood when he was a grihastha was let me help my god brothers, let me help the Gaudiya Math by doing some business and supporting them in this way. Krishna had other plans, of course, as we know. So taking leave of family is a major decision in itself. And then another major decision that Prabhupada made, which he was not really planning, was to take sannyas. And Prabhupada relates how it was only after repeated directives from his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in dreams that he could understand, I have to take sannyas. Otherwise, he was not so inclined. As a matter of fact, we find this in the Gita Nagari essay, where Prabhupada explains about Gurukul, about Gita Pachala. He gives the name Gita Pachala. That in our Gurukul, we will not encourage people to remain brahmacharis or take sannyas. We will rather encourage people to become good householders. He makes that point. Because as we know, taking sannyas in Kali Yuga is not authorized. Not recommended. Not recommended. So the point I wanted to make was that Prabhupada made these two major decisions, left family life, went to Vrindavan, and then after some time could understand that nothing is really going to happen with the mission of the Gaudiya Math, with my Guru Maharaj's mission, unless I take sannyas. No one was showing any signs. None of his godbrothers were showing any signs of really taking up the mission. So he finally, as we know, took sannyas. And then shortly after taking sannyas, while he was walking, I'm not sure if it was in Delhi itself, because he would go regularly to Delhi for printing his first volumes of the Bhagavatam. So again, either in Delhi or coming back to Vrindavan. One day he was just walking and he got hit by a bull. He mentions this, just like suddenly. And then Prabhupada writes somewhere, I forget where I read this. Then I was thinking, I left family life. I took sannyas. Why this is happening to me? So, even one is fully, completely surrendered. It doesn't mean that so-called bad things or reverses. Prabhupada uses the term reverses. Reverse means it's like, you're going in one direction and then either willingly or by force or by circumstances, you have to reverse. You have to go back. You have to go in the other direction. So all of us, we're all going in life in our little way, and then Krishna creates a situation where it's an obstacle, and we have to either redirect our activities or change them in some way or other. They are referred to as reverses. Things that we were not initially planning. So a devotee should know that even though one has become a devotee, and even though one may be fully surrendered to one's spiritual master, one should expect, because that's the nature of the material world. But to the extent that one is firmly established, very firmly convinced as a devotee, surrendered to the will and the desire of the spiritual master, then one will not, what we call, waver. One will not be unsteady. That is, even when faced with the greatest dangers, and of course the examples are here in terms of the Pandavas, in terms of Queen Kunti, as a young mother who was left with her 5 children, and meeting with all of these difficulties. Rather the opposite. That's the real sign of a devotee. I was mentioning how Prabhupada in that one lecture was mentioning that the more these different things happen, these reverses, especially for the Pandavas, it simply increased their love and devotion and their affection for Krishna. So in other words, we should not mind, rather, of course, and this will come out in these prayers of Queen Kunti, we cannot, of course, imitate that mood and mentality of Queen Kunti, but she will be praying that these reverses or that these calamities actually take place. So, calamities, of course, take place in connection with, just like in the case of the Pandavas, because they were dealing with asuric mentalities. They were dealing with individuals who were fully engaged or fully absorbed in adharma. I mean, beginning especially with Duryodhana, whose mentality was not at all favorable, and who was the main character, the main personality, who was trying to hinder and destroy ultimately the Pandavas right till the last moment with those who were supporting Duryodhana, like Ashwatthama and others, due to different circumstances and whatnot. So that means that our although calamities have, we can make proper use of calamities in the sense of further increasing our surrender to Krishna. When such demoniac forces are eliminated, when they're not there, in other words, when there's a Krishna conscious situation, when society is following basically, then, for example, in the Bhagavatam we read about different kings who ruled very nicely. I mean, Prithu Maharaj, Lord Ramachandra, of course, is the perfect example. And during that time, there were no calamities. Everyone was nicely engaged in their different duties and occupations. Everyone was healthy because they were living a natural life. All of their necessities were met. And so therefore, that's one of the major instructions from Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita when we follow dharma. And therefore, the main thought and meditation for devotees is how to work and how to strive towards establishing dharma, which will eliminate all kinds of distress, and ultimately only by following dharma, only by establishing, striving to establish dharma, can we resolve our ultimate problem. These are secondary problems, as Prabhupada would explain. There's really only, everyone, if you ask everyone, can you make a list of your problems? They'll generally give a long list, especially in our present day society. There are so many problems. But for one who's actually a devotee, there's only really, as our acharyas explained, there's only four problems in life, isn't it? The problems of birth, death, old age, and disease. And the more we are fixed on this, the more we are convinced, then we can more easily, it may not always be easy, but we can more easily deal with whatever different problems or challenges in life are there. So, yes, Queen Kunti and the Pandavas are very nice examples of um, devotees, fully surrendered devotees who we could say who passed the test, because actually Krishna puts his devotees, he tests his devotees uh, by creating such situations very often. Prabhupada also, uh, when speaking about such kind of difficulties, that because in the beginning of the movement, for example, there were many obstacles. Even now there are obstacles, but I mean, devotees were put into jail because they were chanting Hare Krishna in different places. Uh, Prabhupada himself had to meet with many challenges just to establish, a temple in Juhu, for example. Quite major challenges. So Prabhupada would point out how one of the very important qualities for a devotee is to be tolerant. Titiksava karunika Sridham sarvadehinam. These are Vaishnava qualities that one needs to develop in order to meet with different situations in life. So the Pandavas had these qualities. Oh, okay. So yeah, I won't go ahead here, but it's after listing these different calamities that the famous prayer, I mean, we could say in many ways a culmination of her prayer, Queen Kunti's prayer, where she will be, that's what we'll be looking at tomorrow. She will be expressing to Krishna that you kindly you allow these calamities to happen more and more. And we will, of course, we already know the main reason is that a devotee simply is meant to increase. In spiritual life, we are meant to deepen and to increase our understanding, our conviction, our surrender. And it is unending how much of surrender we can develop. So, any thoughts or questions on this? Comments? Yes.
Right. Is it said that Madhyama Adhikari?
Madhyama Adhikari. I spoke of, okay, anyways, go ahead.
I said, he's to take, he makes friendship with the devotees.
Yes.
And he's merciful to the
innocent,
and he neglects
avoids the demons.
Yeah, those who are against, not favorable. So, how does a person then, because difficulties will come for everyone. So Bali says, it said that the people who are Balisha, means they're innocent, they will also go through difficulties.
Yes.
So how does the Madhyamadikari help, or how does he, what is the process that he actually helps them? Because the innocent will also become very much affected when he gets difficulties.
Yes.
So how does he actually help the innocent
He helps.
overcome?
Yes. He helps the Madhyamadikari, who is meant to be primarily a preacher, isn't it? Because his conviction is totally firmly established, and he has some understanding of Shastra. So he will try to give the necessary knowledge and tools and means by which one can deal with these different challenges, right, and calamities. So he will try, he will encourage and facilitate that actually those who are at the kanistha level. As a matter of fact, Prabhupada makes that statement. We should not remain at the kanistha level too long. It's dangerous because we may fall down from that level because it's a very shaky, not very strong level because we have less understanding of Shastra and we have less conviction, isn't it? Less Shraddha. So a Madhyamadikari will try to arrange that such persons who are meeting with all kinds, like everyone else in the material world, meeting with all kinds of challenges and calamities, he will give them the necessary, we could say, tools or specifically knowledge and understanding by taking up, because ultimately, unless we take up spiritual practice, we cannot deal successfully, properly, with the different problems that are constantly coming our way, in this material world. So that's the primary meditation and responsibility of one who is Madhyam Adhikari. He will, as Prabhupada would say, one who is a devotee will tax his brain how to spread Krishna consciousness. Part of spreading Krishna consciousness is to be merciful to those who don't have Krishna consciousness, those who don't have the means by which to deal. Just like the whole, there are many examples. We all know the story of Srivas Thakur when his son passed away during kirtan. So all the family members were affected naturally when a child leaves the body, or when any member of the family leaves. But then not Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Chaitanya revived that son of Srivas Thakur, and that son actually gave a Bhagavatam class. He spoke the philosophy to kind of help family members understand that we're all eternal souls. We all have a particular time to live in this body. We all come together very briefly. Like that, he explained the basic philosophy of Krishna consciousness. That is how people gradually, and for some people it may take a long time, but we as devotees, that's one of our primary responsibilities actually, is to make that knowledge available to as many people as possible. Those who don't have that knowledge are what we understand, what we refer to as kanistha. Of course, most people are not even kanistha in terms of don't have basic spiritual knowledge. So So there is like, when we speak of Varnashrama, for example, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, well, nowadays, it's like, most people are not even qualified to be Shudras, because actual Shudra is to be anywhere situated within the Vedic culture, within the system of Varnashrama, is actually quite elevated, because as nicely described by Narada Muni, there are 9 specific qualities of a Shudra, and Shudra is actually basically someone who's a very good servant, who has 2 of the basic uh, qualities that make up actually what we call the pillars of dharma. Shudra is meant to be very clean, shaucham, and also he has a quality of satyam, honest. You know, you don't want to have a servant at home who's not honest and who's not clean. I mean, people usually have servants at home to keep their house clean. So if one doesn't have the concept of cleanliness, if one is not himself or herself clean, then it defeats the purposes of having a servant in one's home, isn't it? So the whole purpose, part of the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement is to actually make this simple, basic spiritual knowledge, but actually not only spiritual knowledge. This is something that is, I would say, less understood, because our Shastra, isn't it, the Vedas, they give us both what is called Paravidya and Aparavidya, and both are needed because we're here in the material world. Otherwise, you would have no business talking about biology or about, the composition of soil and all of these different things. So Shastra is in this way actually very complete, and that's what Krishna says also in the beginning of the 7th chapter. Real knowledge, one who is actually in knowledge, he is aware of both the spiritual and material dimension of life. Yeah. So I would say that's one of the reasons why our acharyas gave so much of emphasis on preaching, which is meant to bring this basic knowledge, again, both spiritual and material knowledge, not to the neglect of developing our bhajan. There needs to be a healthy balance between both, and it's like when we neglect either one of them, then the end result is not good. I mean, it's not good for us individually, and it's not good for the society as well, isn't it? We were just talking yesterday about why is it, or how is it that sometimes we see devotees leaving. Of course, there are many reasons, but very often is because we have not, either individually and also within, let's say, collectively as a society, we have not found yet, and I would say this is, to me, it's obvious, we have not yet found this proper balance between uh, meeting each and every one of us, and society in general also. We have basic spiritual needs, and we have basic material needs, and Shastra is giving us the, the proper knowledge and understanding how to best, and we find this in famous verses in the first canto and also 7th canto. Ahaitukiya pratihata yagatma suprasidati. When we have proper knowledge, then all of our material, emotional, social, and spiritual necessities of life or needs will actually be met. So there's a whole, it's a whole science how to do that. And so neglecting either of them, and of course, we as devotees, we I would say more easily tend to neglect or to not understand properly the material level, whereas those who are out and out, we say materialists or karmis, they neglect, especially the spiritual dimension of life, but they are also neglecting or not aware of the real material aspect also, because simply, for example, people are not eating proper food, don't have access to proper food also, or not living a healthy life by being very unregulated and just following, we say, the dictates of the senses and the dictates of the mind. So in spiritual life, we learn how to regulate, isn't it? Our lives, how to regulate our our senses, how to control our senses uh, for the purpose of not only developing higher consciousness, but it's like, if you're eating, uh, as very often is the situation. I think that problem, I've not recently looked at this, but one of the major problems in society is obesity. People have uncontrolled, irregular eating habits, and people are eating a lot of what we call in America junk food, unhealthy food. And as a result, a lot of people have this a major problem in certain countries. I think we find it a bit less in India, but it's also happening. People are overweight. We say. And I was reading an interesting article. Like when you become overweight, it creates all kinds of things. I mean, problems that we never think about. Small example. Uh, in the Western countries, like in Christianity, they bury people, as opposed to India, where it's cremated. People are cremated. So they have found that, the coffins have to be made bigger now. That's one problem. Another problem is that in a cemetery, well, if the coffins are bigger, you need a bigger hole. So it's like you have less land. In other words, whenever we go off, whenever we get into adharma, it creates all kinds of complications. Simple example. Or it's like, when people are not controlled in their mind or their senses and living in a family situation, well, everyone is at each other's throat, as we say. People can't get along with one another because people are just like on their, ego tripping, as they say. So it's like it divides even members within a family, which is the case. Like everyone has their own television. Everyone has their own. Well, they don't nowadays. You don't need television. Your television is in your cell phone, and it's like it breaks up what is meant to be the natural interaction and natural harmony that is meant to be there between individuals, within communities, and also what is meant to be the natural relationship with us and Krishna's nature and other living entities, different animals, whatever, etc. So therefore, the importance of understanding these universal concepts of dharma, which, okay, you can follow whatever religion you want, but at least you should know and understand the basic principles of all religions, which is what we as a society are focused on. We're not trying to convert people to become Hindus. Prabhupada gave a whole presentation on that, very strongly and clearly. Prabhupada said that you can ask some of my old students. I never went to America with an agenda that you all leave Christianity or whatever faith you're following and you all become Hindus and worship our Hindu god Krishna. That was not Prabhupada's teaching. Krishna is not a Hindu god. Krishna is the universal personality of Godhead for all living entities. And Bhagavad Gita is not a Hindu book. It's a book of knowledge for all of humanity, like that. That is the real understanding of what we call Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana Dharma is not, it's not just sectarian kind of understanding. I'm sure there are other things to be said regarding your question, how to deal with neophytes, basically, or kanistas, right? Or what should...
I met some people.
Huh?
I met some devotees who've been devotees for maybe 15, 20 years.
Right.
And just recently, we met, we
Discuss.
yeah, I mean, and he was saying that one of the things that he was saying is not the same, but a lot of people they're having problems with their families. They're fighting in the house.
Right.
And he said,
As devotees.
yeah, I mean, they're fighting in the house. They can't get together.
As devotees.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Then someone suggested a counselor, marriage counselor.
Right.
And the marriage counselor suggested to them techniques of non-violent communication.
See, this guy's been walking around like this for the last 3 days. He put his head in the plastic. It's a jackal who, they put their head and the plastic is stuck in his head.
Can you catch it?
Well, I don't know. I was thinking the other day how to help the poor guy. Yeah, because he can't eat, and he's probably having a hard time. Yeah, we should try to do something. It just probably needs to be broken. He's trying, even now, you can see.
If we go, it will work.
Not if we plan it out. I mean, we can think about it. He's going to become weaker and weaker because that's what he did the other day also. He just, he was walking this way and then he went in the field. So anyways, that's something on the agenda. Maybe after the Bhagavatam class we can think about how to save. But yeah, please finish.
So he was saying that...
Hey, what are you doing? You be here.
He was saying that helped him to bring down at least both the partners not
to take guidance from a counselor.
Yeah, on non-violent communication. There is a famous book by called Non-Violent Communication.
Right.
Whereas in Bhagavad Gita we have that Krishna himself said, Anudvega karam vakyam, satyam priya hitam chayat. Anudvega karam vakyam. We should not speak anything which will
not palatable.
Agitate,
yeah.
Udvega.
Yes.
Anudvega param vakyam, satyam priya hitam chayat, swadhyaya dhyasanam chayat.
Yes.
So, I mean, we are not doing something which in Bhagavad Gita is, I mean, even after being a devotee for such a long time, we're not able to implement few things that Krishna has said in the Bhagavatam. We are talking about surrendering to Krishna, but what about all these other things that Krishna is? How do we kind of bring that into this whole scheme of things of part of the whole Bhagavad Gita or surrendering to Krishna?
Well, I mean, we are, everything is there in the Bhagavad Gita and other writings like of our Goswamis. Nectar of Instruction is there, where it is very explicitly explained. I mean, our devotees are not are not hearing properly, are not reading sufficiently, not understanding our philosophy. Because one of the important components is that devotees are meant to interact. Devotees are meant to seek guidance from seniors. I mean, that's what we call counseling in the material world. um, and if devotees would simply follow, understand the basic instructions that are there in the Bhagavad Gita, then they would not find themselves. It's like it is very clearly uh, advised that the devotees should consult with senior Vaishnavas, should reveal their mind. You know, one of the fundamental instructions in the Nectar of Instruction given by Srila Rupa Goswami. So we have we're not following some of these basic instructions that are there, and I mean, one would have to look and see if simultaneously we are continuing to be engaged in different kinds of sinful activities. If we are, sinful activities are not only in terms of the four rules and regulations, but if we continue to commit the different thus namavarat, for example, then definitely we will not be able to get along very nicely with other devotees, including family members. We have some devotees, for example, within our society who are like trained and who are rendering this type of service, helping others, especially in the context of the family life, family counseling. It's called the Grihastha Vision Team, I think, something like that. But some in some temples, especially, for example, Chaupati, counseling is a very big aspect of one's. I mean, they give a lot of focus and emphasis on that. So I would say that devotees need to be more attentive in hearing and in putting into practice the the basic philosophy of Krishna consciousness, which will eliminate or avoid or minimize these types of differences that makes family life ultimately very difficult, if not totally hellish as well. I mean, from the society's point of view, for example, a few years back, I think, established what is called devotee care. So devotee care is meant to be like on different levels as well, in terms of physical care and then in terms of emotional care, and that's meant to be the responsibility of those who are more senior, within society, senior disciples of different gurus. They have actually a responsibility for those who are more, like junior, and there should be ways and means. I mean, I was bringing that up, I brought it up a number of times. I don't think it's been acted upon, that there should be a system that at least common rank devotees, they should know that, well, there are individuals who are ready to help others if there's some complications. And again, if we follow the basic philosophy, then that's part of what we should be doing as devotees, is try to associate with and help devotees who may be in different difficult situations.
Maharaj, the next verse is a very famous
Yes.
prayer, but the concept is very strange.
Concept is strange.
Concept is strange because it looks like if there is a danger for a devotee, Krishna will appear. If there is no danger, Krishna will not appear. I don't think that's just itself is a full understanding how we can see Krishna. So it looks like it's a kind of.
But who concluded that if there's a danger, Krishna will appear?
If you mention that I would get that danger again, because then I can see you again.
Yes.
That was the next.
Yes, yes.
So, not the danger brings Krishna appear.
Let's not jump ahead of ourselves. We're getting to that verse tomorrow morning. Yeah. So let's.
But the concept means the context. Why Kunti Devi is explaining how many difficulties she went on and other things. Prabhupada, I don't understand why Prabhupada again takes that comparison between Devaki and Kunti.
Uh-huh.
So I don't understand.
Right.
I would not mention again because the previous verse was exactly built up by this.
It's quite understandable that we don't always understand.
Yeah.
So some understandings take some time.
Yeah. From where Prabhupada takes that, why extend that concept from the previous verse to here to start his explanation with that?
So you think Prabhupada is not fair?
No, I'm asking why. From where he's taking it.
We will discuss tomorrow. Okay. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Jai.